In the scorching summer of 2018, investigative journalist Sarah Jones was sifting through cold case files, searching for a thread to tug on. She had a knack for uncovering hidden patterns and connections that others might miss. And then, it happened, she stumbled upon a peculiar link between three seemingly unrelated murders. The first victim was Emily Wilson, a 25-year-old nurse from Kansas City who was found dead in her apartment in 2010. The police investigation concluded that it was a botched burglary gone wrong, but Jones' curiosity was piqued when she noticed an unusual symbol etched into the wall near the body. Fast forward to 2015, when 32-year-old marketing executive James Parker was discovered murdered in his San Francisco loft. At first glance, his death seemed like another case of a violent crime driven by opportunity or revenge. But what caught Jones' attention was the same symbol, identical in design and placement, etched into the wall near Parker's body. As she dug deeper, Jones discovered a third victim, 28-year-old high school teacher Sarah Taylor, who was brutally murdered in her home in Denver in 2012. Again, the same symbol appeared at the crime scene. The coincidence was striking, but it wasn't until Jones noticed a subtle pattern in the victims' backgrounds that she began to suspect something more sinister. All three victims had one thing in common: they had recently received strange phone calls from an unknown number, with no apparent connection to each other or their killer. The calls were always brief, never lasting more than 30 seconds, but they seemed to be the trigger for the murders. Jones was convinced that she was onto something big, a conspiracy that went far beyond a simple pattern of coincidence. But what exactly was she uncovering? It was the summer of 2018 when investigative journalist Sarah Jones stumbled upon a peculiar connection between three seemingly unrelated murders that had taken place in different parts of the country over the past decade. The first victim, Emily Wilson, a 25-year-old nurse, was found dead in her apartment in Los Angeles on August 15, 2007. She had been stabbed multiple times and her body had been left posed in a peculiar way, sparking initial theories that it might be a ritualistic killing. Fast forward to January 12, 2011, when 32-year-old software engineer, David Lee, was found murdered in his home in Austin, Texas. The investigation initially focused on the victim's business dealings and personal life, but as police delved deeper into the case, they discovered a cryptic message scrawled on the wall near Lee's body: "The shadow weaves." This enigmatic phrase would later become a crucial thread in Sarah Jones' investigation. In 2015, another seemingly unrelated murder took place in New Orleans. 28-year-old artist, Mia Garcia, was found strangled to death in her studio. The police report listed the case as a robbery gone wrong, but there were inconsistencies that nagged at the investigators. It wasn't until Sarah Jones started digging into the details of these three cases that she began to notice an unsettling pattern. Sarah's research revealed that all three victims had been involved with a now-defunct online forum called The Nexus, which was known for its dark and esoteric discussions on spirituality, philosophy, and conspiracy theories. Furthermore, each victim had been active on the platform in the months leading up to their deaths, suggesting that they might have unknowingly crossed paths with someone who would later become their killer. As Sarah continued to investigate, she discovered a series of eerie coincidences between the three cases. The same phrase, "the shadow weaves," appeared in each crime scene. All victims had reported experiencing strange and unsettling online interactions before their deaths, and a mysterious figure, known only as Echo One, seemed to be lurking in the digital shadows. As Sarah delved deeper into the case files, she began to notice a strange thread weaving its way through each investigation. The victims, though unrelated by family ties, all shared a peculiar characteristic: they had been in contact with a company called Eclipse Enterprises in the months leading up to their deaths. Emily Wilson, for instance, had applied for a loan from Eclipse just 3 weeks before she was found murdered in her apartment. Her lender, Rachel Kim, reported that Emily had seemed nervous and on edge during their phone conversations. Rachel later described Emily as being unusually concerned about her personal security. Similarly, Mark Davis, the second victim, had signed up for an Eclipse-subsidized gym membership just a few months before his brutal murder in Los Angeles. Eyewitness accounts revealed that Mark had been frequently harassed by an unknown individual at the gym. The third and most recent case was that of Rachel Patel, who was killed while working late at her office building in New York City. A review of her emails showed that she had received a suspicious message from an Eclipse representative just days before her murder. Sarah's persistence led her to secure access to internal communications within Eclipse Enterprises. The company's email archives revealed a pattern of cryptic exchanges between executives and employees, alluding to potential risks associated with each of the victims' business dealings. Further investigation uncovered a connection between Eclipse's CEO, Julian Stiles, and a shadowy consulting firm called Novatech. Novatech was linked to several high-profile corporate scandals across the country. The more Sarah dug, the more she became convinced that there existed a sinister web connecting these seemingly unrelated murders, one that reached far beyond simple coincidence. As Sarah delved deeper into the case files, she began to notice a disturbing pattern. The three murders all shared a common thread: each victim had been prescribed a specific medication in the months leading up to their death. It was a coincidence that seemed too great to ignore. Emily Wilson, the first victim, had been taking a new antidepressant called Illyria just weeks before her body was discovered in a park near Boston. Meanwhile, Rachel Patel, a 32-year-old marketing executive from New York, had also been prescribed Illyria several months prior to her own tragic demise. Her family claimed she had been experiencing severe side effects, but their concerns were dismissed by the pharmaceutical company that manufactured the drug. The third victim, James Reed, a 45-year-old IT specialist from Los Angeles, had been taking a generic version of Illyria under his doctor's guidance. Sarah noticed that all three victims had also visited the same online forum discussing the medication's side effects. It was as if these individuals were connected in more ways than one. The more Sarah learned about Illyria, the more she became convinced that there was something sinister at play. Pharmaceutical company records showed that millions of dollars in profits were generated from sales of Illyria alone. As Sarah dug deeper into the financials, she discovered a web of connections between pharmaceutical companies and various medical professionals who prescribed Illyria to their patients. It seemed that some doctors were receiving lucrative kickbacks for promoting this particular medication, even if it meant putting their patients' lives at risk. The investigation had now morphed from a simple murder case into a complex expose on the dark underbelly of the pharmaceutical industry. Sarah Jones had been poring over the case files for weeks, searching for any hint of a connection between Emily Wilson's murder in Los Angeles and the brutal killings of Sarah Taylor in New York City and Michael Davis in Chicago. At first glance, the three cases seemed to have little in common: different locations, ages, and backgrounds of the victims. But as she delved deeper into the files, Sarah began to notice a pattern. Each victim had been killed with an identical silver letter opener, found at the scene of each crime. The police departments involved had all reported that the openers were unique to the case, but none had ever connected them. It was this small detail that sparked Sarah's curiosity. She started to analyze every aspect of the cases, from the dates and times of the murders to the exact locations where the victims' bodies were found. And then, she made a breakthrough: all three cities had hosted major medical conferences in the months leading up to each murder. The coincidence seemed too great to ignore. Sarah's research led her to a specific pharmaceutical company that had sponsored several of these conferences. She began to dig deeper into their background, searching for any possible connection between them and the murders. As she dug through the records, Sarah discovered a shocking revelation: one of the company's top executives had been involved in a lawsuit related to a medical device used by Emily Wilson at the time of her murder. The device was made by the same company that sponsored the conferences where Sarah Taylor and Michael Davis were last seen alive. Sarah's gut told her that she was onto something big, but she needed concrete evidence to prove it. She spent the next few days tracking down every lead, talking to sources, and poring over documents. And then, she finally stumbled upon a crucial piece of information. As Sarah Jones dug deeper into the case files, a chilling pattern began to emerge. Emily Wilson's murder in 2008 was linked to Michael Lee, a 30-year-old former soldier who had been discharged from the army with a diagnosis of